All right, and we're off. All right, we're actually going. All right, stuff is happening. We got some speed runs going. It looks like Chris somehow got like an early on there. SSD Ninja's got something going on as well. But
the race, someone hasn't ready.
I guess we're not doing the SRL thing. All right, whatever. So be it. I closed out of the channel. We're just going, man. It's just happening. It's just we're not gonna be documenting this. Something's going on with SSD Ninja's stream right now.
Yeah, I wish ShatX would have said something like.
Yeah, I don't know what ShatX was thinking, but in any case, it's happening. We're going. What's going on with SSD Ninja's stream? Anyways, so what are we looking at right now? We're looking at the first leg here. And we're seeing, I think it's Piano Machine here, finishing up 117, and it looks like Watch Your Back's going to be the first one into the first boss of the run. And we have a pretty close race going on between Watch Your Back and Piano Machine at the moment. As they go into hospital. Alright, so I have an update here. Delgas was apparently playing this entire time, and I think he just has to get the window active on his screen here. Alright, good. Good to know. Alright, so let's check in here. We have Watch Your Back going into to 210 right now. He's about halfway through hospital here, this second chapter. All right, and so what do we have going on here? We have lots of needles. We have disappearing key blocks. Ooh, he takes a tough death there. This is where the game really starts to ramp up in difficulty. The kind of hand-holdiness going on in Forest kind of ceases to be a thing, and this is where the game really starts to pick up in terms of precision. So this is probably where we'll start to see some runners who are more prepared kind of tear away from the other runners. All right. It looks like Delgas restarting his stream, but he's going into hospital. It looks like everything's kind of back on track here. All right. He's cruising into 2-3 right now, so he's a little bit behind, again, I think because of those difficulties, but there is still plenty of relay left, so I'm guessing that Team Brownie is still going to have a fair shot at this. fairly early on to in this relay. All right, so we have Back, Piano Machine, and SSD Ninja very, very close to each other right now. You're seeing them do an auto jump strat right now, at least Back and Piano going for the auto jump strat. And how you do an auto jump is you input a jump, you pause the game, you let go of jump, and you unpause. And that allows Meat Boy to jump on every frame that he touches a surface, which is very useful tech for those kind of tight corridors where you're trying to do fast climbs. So we saw Back and Chris going for that just there. Now we're seeing Chad skip. In various iterations right now. These three folks are all kind of on the same level right now. Back is going to be the first one out, and we're looking at a really, really close race between Piano Machine and Delgas right now. And Chad is being absorbed by the sunlight by both of these folks right now. And Back is the first person into the Salt Factory, the third chapter in the run. Again, there's probably going to be some auto jump action going on here for some of the runners. And what do we have going on? This is the chapter that really introduces conveyors, which you're seeing on Back's screen right now. Really messes with Meat Boy's momentum. If you don't know exactly how they work, it can be very difficult to complete some of these levels consistently. So Back doing very nicely there on 3-4, which has a lot of very small conveyors going on that can really, again, mess up with Meat Boy's momentum there. So we have SSD Ninja and we have Piano Machine, both kind of trading off second place right now. Piano Machine just a couple levels ahead of SSD Ninja. And we see Delgas starting to make some headway here, heading into Chad right now. So he still has a little bit of catching up to do due to those kind of earlier technical issues, but he's making some progress here, especially because we're starting to see some breakdowns occurring here in Factory. This is again where the run really starts to ramp up in difficulty in terms of like doing the faster strats. If you really want to go for the riskier stuff, it might kill you a few times before you can even get it once. So we're seeing some of that going on right now. Back is still holding a very, very slight lead right now. He's doing an alternate route in Factory that we're actually seeing Chris do as well, or Piano Machine do as well, in which they're not deciding to exit to menu and do Factory 1 through Factory 11, followed by Factory 14 through 19. Rather, they're just doing Factory 1 through 17. This is typically the route that people tend to take if they are maybe a little bit rusty, because the other route just saves a couple of seconds. But we did see SSD Ninja opt for the slightly more optimal route there, and exit out to menu to maybe save those couple of seconds that his team could really use right about now. So we still have Back again holding a very slight lead, playing very, very consistently right now. I'm not seeing a lot of deaths happening on his screen, and we're also seeing Chris and SSD stick very close to each other. They are both on the same level right now, about halfway through their run. So that's indicating that these two are probably going to be neck and neck as this race progresses. And Back just pulled off the brownie skip flawlessly, going around the edge of the map there to skip basically the entire brownie race sequence. We'll see if Piano Machine gets it. He messes it up once, twice, thrice. What comes after thrice? He gets it the fourth time. There you go. All right. So that was good. That saves about 15 seconds if you get it first try. So it still ultimately saved Piano Machine a little bit of time there. Just because the race sequence is rather long, rather than just going around the edge of the map there. So now we're in Hell, and we're seeing Back get started here, going into the dreaded Hex. 4-4, one of the most challenging levels. He gets the skip! He gets the skip and he saves 3 seconds! The man is a madman! Oh my god. That is unbelievable. Back gets hex skip. First try. That's going to help him out. That saves about 3 seconds. We're probably going to see one of the runners here go for the typical hex setup. If you watch Piano Machine's screen, yes, this is the alternate route. You have to wait out for the platform, so that's going to cost their team about 3 seconds. Back is really pulling out all the stops to get his team off to an early lead here, and he is not really showing any signs of rust, despite the fact that he was basically called upon to do this relay basically just a few minutes ago. Back is he is on fire right now. He's showing no signs of derust. This is kind of what you can expect from Back, though. Takes a tough death there on 410. But he is actually kind of renowned for derusting extremely quickly and basically picking up where he left off. He is showing some difficulty on 410 right now, allowing Piano Machine to catch up. And now they're on the same level. Back is really having some issues here. That hex skip only took him so far, and let's see how Piano Machine does on 410. One of the hardest levels in the run because of these fireballs in this very tight hallway. He gets the first try, opting to take a couple of extra seconds there to not die to the fireballs, which was ultimately the better call. Back seemed to be going for a more riskier setup there. Still holding a very slight lead over Piano Machine. SSD Ninja bringing up the rear right now. Delgas is actually making some headway right now. He's finally kind of made it within a few levels of third place. He's on 4-3. SSD Ninja's on just entering 4-10 now. So it's distinctly possible that we could maybe see him catch up by the end of this leg. We'll stay tuned to Delgas as well. SSD Ninja getting 410. Pretty effortlessly. Again, one of the hardest levels in the run right there. Very unassuming, but very difficult. So we're seeing Back. If you look at Back screen, he's wrapping up Hell right now, about to go into the boss. It looks like he's going to be the first in, unless he takes a death here on 419, but he doesn't. So Little Horn is kind of a nice grace period. We get about a minute to just jump a couple of times and kind of hang tight, reset a little bit before entering into the final stretch of the run. All you have to do here is just wait in one spot while Little Horn bashes his head into the ground, and the rest kind of takes care of itself. This is a safe spot. All you have to do is jump a couple times. His fists do pose a threat about 3 times over the course of the minute, but this is kind of a nice resting point. We're seeing Piano Machine as well, taking down the first phase of Little Horn. And and we're seeing Delgas appearing to struggle a little bit on 410. Again, that level that I've been talking about is one of the hardest levels in the run. Can really make or break a PB for a lot of folks. He gets through the portals. All right, Back's going to be the first out of Hell. Going into Rapture, Chapter 5. And Chapter 5 is arguably the biggest run killer of them all. Has very challenging strats and very long deaths. Very expansive levels relative to some of the other bite-sized offerings in the earlier chapters. So this could really even out the playing field depending on how Back does here. Still holding on to that slight lead. We're seeing Piano Machine going into Rapture as well right now. But really doing very nicely with these repulsors, these kind of glowing orbs that send Meat Boy flying in the opposite direction of the center of gravity of the orbs. These are very tricky strats, very hard to master, and if you're rusty, it's probably going to show here. 5-4, the one that Back's on right now, has a very difficult turnaround jump, which he's trying to execute right now. He's going to opt to hang on that platform here and kind of soar over the repulsors. And he finally clears the level. He's had his handful of flubs here, but he's still holding on to a lead by a couple of levels at the moment. We're seeing SSD Ninja wrapping up Hell. just as Delgas enters. So that's about a minute differential between those two teams competing for third place right now. So it's definitely still within the realm of possibility for Delgas to catch up here, especially because Rapture again is kind of the great equalizing chapter for a lot of these race situations. So Back is opting for a route here that you probably won't see the sub 19 runners going for, the higher level runners. 5.8 is a really long auto scroller that you're seeing now. It actually costs a couple of seconds over exiting to menu here and just dodging this level altogether, but he does clear it with very minimal effort. These are abominations that you're seeing on Back's screen right now. These kind of Meat Boy clones that are evil and try to take him out. Their position is kind of random, but you can kind of manipulate them to do the same thing every time. But their behavior does kind of depend on the run, which can make for some problematic variations. But Back doing quite nicely with the abominations thus far. Let's see how he does on 11. This one has some abominations that kind of fall from the ceiling here, but he does fine. No problem there. And so now we're coming up on Back screen again. One of the hardest levels in Rapture, the Lamb. It has these disappearing platforms. Ideally, you go off the side of the platform here. Back is actually trying to go for that there. Trying to hit those sides of the disappearing platforms. This can cost runners a very long time. Ideally, it's about like a 7 or 8 second level. But if you're even a little bit off, it's probably going to double the length of that level. He does clear it. Doing a skip here on 5.14 as well. Going around the level and skipping the key grabs. How are the other teams doing here? We have Piano Machine. It seems like Back's opened up the lead a little bit on Piano Machine. He's got about a 5 to 6 level lead right now. Delgas doing quite nicely. 5.6. Just a couple of levels behind SSD Ninja, who appears to have been having some difficulty, but he's pulled it within about 15 to 20 seconds of third place right now. So again, this is the chapter where these where runners can really either make or break a run. And Back's the first into Larry here. This is the boss of Rapture. He can either jump 3 consecutive times, or he can keep burrowing into the ground over and over again. And it's completely random whether that happens. There's about a 1 in 9 chance that he just 3 consecutive times. Otherwise, you just kind of have to wait him out. Back gets a pretty good Larry there. I think that was about a 6 cycle. Ideally, you get that 3 cycle. But no complaints there, I'm sure, for Back, who is out of Rapture, arguably the breaking point of the run. And he's going to sail into the final chapter here. Just 5 levels to go, and then the final boss. These levels are even longer than the ones in Rapture. And there are a couple of tricky strats here. You're going to see him going around the edge of a level here to avoid going through some saws and getting some keys, which he does without an issue. Performing really nicely on these last couple of chapters, although taking a kind of a nasty death there on 6.2. Could be much worse. 6.2, I think, is the longest non-boss stage in the run. About 20 to 21 seconds if it's done optimally. Very tricky jumps. You have to kind of span these wide gaps that you're seeing on Back's screen right now. He just has a couple more of those gaps to clear, and then he should be okay unless he hits a saw up here. And he's through. So that's about a 23. That's pretty good. That's only a couple seconds off of like an optimal 6.2. All right, and now we're seeing Piano Machine going into Larry. Doing quite nicely himself. Let's see how he does on Larry. Again, this can really open up the race just because Larry's behavior is completely unpredictable. Oh my goodness, Piano Machine takes a death on Larry. Deep into the cycle count there. That is bad news for Piano Machine's team. Forget the team name. Let me check this out again. Alright, Team Fetus. I should have known. Yeah, Team Fetus's team takes a very, very long hit there. SSD Ninja is actually tied up with Team Fetus right now. So Team Bandage and Team Fetus neck and neck right now. Who's going to be the first out of Larry? Who's going to be second up behind Back, who is just cruising through the end right now, barring a few mistakes here and there. So Piano Machine still holding on to that lead, but let's see what happens with Team Bandage, SSD Ninja. SSD Ninja's getting stuck with a pretty bad Larry. These cycles are not being particularly cooperative. As Delgas still bringing up the rear, trying to close out Rapture here before going into Larry. He's still going to have a good amount of ground to make up, even though he pulled it kind of close in hell to SSD Ninja. It seems like SSD Ninja has kind of opened things up again for Team Bandage a little bit. As Back is about to do keyless here. This can cost 15 seconds if it's messed up. He gets it. And the stream froze for a couple seconds, but he's through. He made it. Good news. All right. SSD Ninja about 15 seconds off of Piano Machine right now. Just going into 6-2 as Piano Machine is piecing out a 6-2 right now. And we're seeing Back on the final boss, Dr. Fetus. A long auto-scroller that involves getting to the end of the stage and then just waiting out the moving saws. And Dr. Fetus' sprite. He's struggling a little bit to get those jumps off, but he does make it to the button. This is the button at the end of the stage. We just call it the button. Best hashtag best team. Wow, nice subliminal messaging there from Watch Your Back. All right, we're seeing Delgas finally getting out of Rapture. Seemed to have had a bit of a tough time there, but he has reported being a little bit rusty. He was kind of summoned at the last moment. So Back's going into the escape sequence. This is a kind of a free-for-all. No auto-scroller, just got to make it to the end. Make it to the endpoint trigger. And hopefully his next leg is on standby. Hopefully they have a smooth transition. But his team is off to a commanding lead right now. We're seeing the other three teams still have not made it to the final boss yet. And we're going to be seeing Team Meat changing over to Shadax momentarily, whose run might already be in progress, kind of depending on how their transition's been going. I think we're still waiting for Shadax's stream to pop up here, but that should be happening momentarily. As Piano Machine goes into Dr. Fetus. Okay, and let's see. Piano Machine taking a very tough death there on Fetus. That's actually going to allow SSD Ninja to basically tie it up. And now we're seeing Team Fetus and Team Bandage essentially tied up for second at the moment, as we're still waiting on Shadax's stream to pop up here in the top left. And Delgas is wrapping up the end as well. I'm getting reports that Shadax is currently running. We will see his stream transition over soon, I'm sure. All right, and let's see. So it looks like SSD Ninja took another death on Fetus, unfortunately. So Piano Machine's looking like he's going to be the first one to the button, representing Team Fetus. Looks like we're getting that stream transitioned over to right about now. Shadax's name is popping up, and hear that he's on Slugger. I hear that he's on the first boss at the moment. All right, so wait a minute. I think while we've been waiting for Shadax, Piano Machine took another death on Fetus there. I might have just not been paying attention to that, but it looks like SSD Ninja is going to be the first one into escape here. My goodness. So much is going on, so little time. Shadox is deep into hospital right now. He's on 2-2. Doing quite well, hanging on to that pretty substantial lead. Delgas actually tied it up with Piano Machine. Finally, after those earlier technical difficulties, bringing it in for his team. And he's actually going to be a little bit ahead of Piano Machine. I think this is his first time that he has not been in last since we got started. So he's really done a phenomenal job of making this comeback happen. Let's see what's going to happen. SSD Ninja looks like he's the first out. Delgas going to be third on this first leg of the Super Meat Boy Any% Relay November edition. Piano Machine pulling it in at last in the first leg. So SSD Ninja really keeping it close with Delgas. So we're probably going to see some back and forth going on between Team Bandage and Team Brownie coming up with this next leg here. As Shadox is still holding on to a very commanding lead right now, halfway through Hospital here. All right, so for Team Bandage, next up we have Magic Mister. Piano Machine is finishing up Escape at the moment. So I have a little bio from Magic Mister. I kind of asked some of the runners here before we got started today about their history with the game. If they had any insight about their history with the game and their thoughts about this relay today. So Mister says he's been running since late 2016. He considers Factory 15 and Rapture 13 to be his weak points in his runs at the moment. He feels as though pressure gets to him easily, but he's hoping that he just doesn't choke too bad. He's hoping that the time turns out okay. I hope that works out for him. And so we have King Shrooms representing Team Brownie. He's been doing very well with the warm-up runs over the past 24 hours or so. And my stream went down briefly. Waiting for it to catch up here. I'm just going to refresh. Alright, so I'm seeing a couple of the streams frozen, but that's okay. So who else do we have here? We have some high level runners right now. Some folks in maybe like the top 25 to 50 with Shrooms. I think the one in the group who has like an 18.3x. The commentary stream just went down. I'm gonna refresh that. See where we're at. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. It's fine. It's fine. It's only kind of on fire. It's okay. Alright, we're good. We're good. We're good. We're back. Alright, so what's going on here? What are we looking at? So we have Shadox, the first into Factory here, cruising at the moment. Positively cruising. These folks are going to be moving very quickly through this game. Shrooms has been averaging about 19 to 20 minutes during his warm-up runs. And Brendan as well has a high 18 himself. Shadox, I think, with a 19 for a PB. I'm not entirely sure about Magic Mister's time. And looks like we're still experiencing some freezing here, so I'm just gonna see what's going on here. Huh. Getting audio but no video. I can see what's happening on my phone though at the moment. I can also read off some of these guys' bios here. Brendan says his time is pretty good for his skill level, his PB he means, and it'll take a lot of practice to beat it. He doesn't know what to say about the relay. He just thinks it's cool seeing a big community represented and lots of different kind of play styles represented as well. Excellent. And so my stream's caught up again, which is nice. Who else do we have here? We have Shrooms. I forget what Shrooms said to me earlier. He said, he wrote to me, "I'm bad and Shadox is a god." whatever you say, Shrooms. Shrooms tends to downplay his skills, but he is quite good himself. He has a top 20 time on the leaderboards right now, so he definitely is representing Team Brownie quite nicely right now. I'm getting some more freezing going on in my commentary stream, but that's whatever. Shadex just says, "I'm a god," for his commentary that he wanted to share. There you have it. So we have one runner from I believe it's Belgium, that's Shadex. 2 runners from the U.S., Brendan and Shrooms, and then 1 runner from France, Magic Mister. So we have a lot of different countries represented for this relay. In addition to those different skill levels that I was talking about earlier as well. Shadex still kind of crushing the game right now. He is holding on to about almost a chapter's lead over the next closest. Shrooms and Mister basically like frame tied right now. They're super close. Yeah, Shadex is just kicking butt and taking names right now. I don't know if I got Shadex's nationality right. I'm pretty sure it's Belgium. Anyways, so Shadex is the first out of Brownie, pulling off that skip without effort. Shrooms and Mister have a wonderful sync going on right now. These two, who's gonna die first? I'm curious. Quite curious to see. All right, based on what I'm seeing, it looks like they're still pretty close to each other. Still having some issues with the commentary stream, but they're hanging tight right now. They're hanging tight for sure. We're seeing Brendan just a couple levels behind right now, but Shadex is really taking it upon himself to. Okay. Shadex is really taking it upon himself to hang on to his lead for his team. All right. Good stuff. Okay. And Brendan has been putting a lot of time in the past couple of days to make sure that his time looks good for his team. These folks have all been kind of de-rusting pretty hard after maybe taking a bit of a break from the game. Shrooms has been a part of the community for several years now, and when he commits, he really his time really starts to go down, and we've been seeing that recently with some of his warm-up runs. He's doing quite nicely. Still like neck and neck with Magic Mister. We'll see them go for mono skip here, avoiding the platform. Shrooms gets it without a hitch. Mister opts to not go for it. Almost dies there, which would have given Shrooms a bit of a chance to run away with the lead for second. We're seeing Shrooms go for 318 for the first time in the relay. Actually, Shadex might have done that too. In any case, you basically you jump over the blocks there. Mister gets it himself, and basically that prevents you having to wait for the locks, which saves about, I think, like 6 seconds. So really nice work from the two of them. Shrooms struggling a little bit on Brownie. Eventually he gets there, and looks like Magic Mister also struggling a little bit on Brownie. Again, you have a very narrow space to work with out of bounds to pull this skip off, so the jump has to be very precise. But they both eventually pull off Brownie skip. Brendan closing the gap a little bit. He's on mono, so I could see him maybe catching up with both Shrooms and Mister. Maybe when it comes time for Rapture, bringing it in a little bit for Team Fetus, as Team Brownie and Team Bandage kick off Hell. We're seeing some auto jump action here from Shrooms. Is he going to go for Hex Skip? Let's see. Let's see Shrooms. Shrooms is not opting to go for Hex Skip, that platform skip that we saw from Watch Your Back earlier. Magic Mister again showing off the auto jump here. And is Mister going to go for Hex Skip? No, he too is going to play it safe for his team and just opt to take those 3 seconds and wait out the platform. Brendan's doing brownie skip. He gets it first try effortlessly. And gets that auto jump climb up the side of the level. So he's going to wrap up Factory. Looking pretty clean so far. All right. What are we looking at? Shadex, the first one into Rapture, of course. Still not really seeing Team Bandage and Team Brownie close the gap too much. Shadex is just on a tear right now. Really just taking the money and running with it right now. Robbing the proverbial bank, if you will. I don't think that's a thing. Whatever. In any case, Shadex opting to wait out a cycle there, not willing to risk the 15-second death that would accompany hitting that last saw. So he's just going to play it safe there. And a bit of buffering again. Come to life. Come back to life. So what are we looking at? Let's see. Brendan, really just within a few levels of Magic Mister at the moment. Tries to go for Hex Skip a couple seconds ago there. Didn't quite get it. Again, a very risky strat to attempt. But we have some brave souls out here trying to really cut down their times for this relay. They can make it happen. And so we're seeing Shrooms going into the last level in Hell before the boss, before he gets that nice breather. In Little Horn, the 4th boss in the game. Shadex, let's see how he does on 5-7. One of the trickier key grabs there. If you miss that key, it's all over. You just got to start the level over again. There's no salvaging that, but he gets it without a problem. He too is going for the 5-8 route here, so we're seeing this kind of long descending auto scroller on Shadex's screen right now for Team Meat. Again, that's maybe a second or two slower, but for a lot of these folks, that second or two is basically at the point where they need that in order to really make an impact on their PBs. But he's opting again to really just go for the safer stuff where possible, and no frills. He just wants to get a good time and really carry his team ahead. And we're seeing very few deaths on his screen right now. He's performing quite nicely. He's just been playing extremely smoothly, not really opening up an opportunity for Shrooms or Mister to close the gap. Again, Shrooms and Mister kind of close. Shrooms about a cycle ahead of Little Horn there, or ahead of blah 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 blah. He's about a cycle ahead of Magic Mister out of Little Horn, so he's going to be holding on to a nice little lead there going into Rapture. Brendan closing the gap on Mister a little bit as he's wrapping up Hell. He's got a couple more levels to go, and then he will be on his way. About a minute behind Team Bandage right now. Magic Mister going for the 2-18 Rapture route, so he's going to skip level 1 that has that potential for a really long saw death. It costs about 15 seconds, so he's just going to start off with this rather easy repulsor strat and go for 5-8, that long descending auto scroller that we've been talking about. So Shrooms and Mister again tied. They're on the same stage. 5-4 is really a tricky level. Lots of very precise jumps. You see them going off that really small wall to get across the repulsors. That very large gap. So these two are neck and neck again. They've been trading blows basically since the race started, and it has just kind of remained that way. They are not giving an inch to each other right now. Shadex the first into Larry. Let's see if Larry opens up any time for Shrooms or Mister here. Time that they could really use right now in order to make this more of a race for first rather than a race for second, which it seems to be at the moment. Brendan about a chapter behind Shadex right now. Let's see. So yes, we saw Shrooms go for the quote-unquote optimal route, skipping the descending auto scroller that Mister's on right now. So it's going to appear that he's a little bit ahead for a time, but he is going to have to do an extra level that Magic Mister does not have to do. because of the route differences. Shattuck's finally getting out of Larry. That was a decent one. He was probably looking for something a little bit better than that. But it is what it is. Larry giveth and Larry taketh away. But again, he's still just like he's nuts. He's nuts. He's putting on a really good show right now, and Shrooms and Mister just don't have an opportunity to really close the gap at all. So he is. Let's see how he does on these longer levels, though. There is an opportunity for him to take a long death here. It could cost him upwards of 20 seconds. If there's even one small misstep. He gets through 6-2, the longest non-boss level in the run, without a hitch. 6-3, a little bit tricky as well. We got these tight key jumps and these really small rooms with the quickly rotating saws. He's going to opt for a backup here on 6-3, and should probably just wait out this cycle. Yep, he does not. Again, he's just been playing very intelligently this entire time. He knows when to wait out a cycle if it looks like it's going to kill him, and we just saw that kind of manifest itself in 6-3. He just opts to take a couple of seconds, catch his breath, and then push forward. But it's really remarkable how he's doing right now. One last thing up for Shadex coming up here. We have Keyless, the fabled Omega Skip, coming up here. First, he has to clear these two saws. Takes a tough death there. Takes a very tough death. Not as tough as it could be. Let's see how he does with Keyless. He's not going for Keyless again. He's going for the safe stuff where he can, and he's not going for Keyless. That was kind of a surprise. They're Shadex, but again, he just wants to post a good time for his team. That's his motivation, and it's paying off because he is just hanging on to that lead. Brendan still a little bit behind, just a few levels behind Mister right as Shrooms finally gets out of Larry, and he's on his way to the end. It's possible that I'm a bit behind. Let me see if I can catch up. I'm caught up. Great. All right. So Shrooms getting out of 6-1 there. That's about right. Let's see where we're at. Let's check in here. Shadex is going to be hitting the button momentarily, as Mister's getting stuck with a kind of a rough Larry here. Brendan's pulling it in a little bit, doing very nicely on these rocket stages at the end of Rapture. Can he survive the repulsors? And can Larry hold off long enough for him to maybe catch up to Mister? We have seen Larry go for upwards of like 60 cycles before the third head jumps. So it could be a long waiting game for Mister, as Brendan is now going into Larry. If he gets a 3 cycle, it could be an even game between Brendan and Mister. But Mister's Larry, his third head finally jumps. And looks like Brendan not getting the 3 cycle that he might have been hoping for to really bring it in for his team. That Larry was really rough. And that's exactly what makes these relays so unpredictable. That random element right before the end of the run can really take a toll on a player's mentality. Brendan himself, just not having a great time on Larry. A bit of a better time than Mister though. His third head finally jumps there. Shrooms is gonna very carefully go for Keyless. He gets it. Gets that auto jump input off the side of that platform, and he is through. So he is going to be the second person into Fetus. Shadex wrapped it up. Let's see. Yeah, so Shadex wrapped it up, and who are we seeing next? Who's going to be the third leg of this here relay? For Team Meat, we're going to have Kazuki. Kazuki's been on a derusting tear recently, coming out of hiding for about a year and a half, basically just for this relay. He is a runner from Canada who got about a 20-minute time recently. So his his leg of the relay will be interesting to watch, given that he's very recently come back to the game for this event. Shadex put on a very nice performance there. Really just maintaining the lead that Team Meat kind of already had after Back's pretty impressive performance as well. 20-minute time and that's my team, so I'm feeling pretty good right now. I'm feeling good about our chances, but anything can really happen here. We still have 3 more legs to go, and plenty of good runners yet to play. So we have Shrooms finishing up. He's going to be the second out, maintaining the lead that Team Meat kind of already had. Watching that rather famous cutscene of Meat Boy very nearly getting crushed, only to get saved at the last second by Brownie himself. I'm feeling good about our chances, but anything can really happen. What a boss! We still have 3 more legs to go. What a king! And plenty of good runners. All right. Brendan gets keyless there, off in the bottom left corner there, and Brendan pulling out a very impressive performance there to like bring it within just a few seconds of Magic Mister. After Mister got stuck with a really rough Larry, Brendan with a slightly better Larry, and now they're basically on the same playing field. Brendan takes a very tough death there. That's going to cost him about 15 seconds. Mister just fooling around right now. I'm not sure what he's up to, but maybe taking some unnecessary risks with these saws before going to the button. Maybe just putting on a bit of a show for me to commentate. I don't know what's going on, but Mister finally gets to the button safely. He does have to stay on that button. If he is off that button when the saws come through, Meat Boy's collision will become active again, and then he will die to the saws. So he has to stop moving eventually. There we go. He knows. He knows that Meat Boy has to be staying still on the button in order for the saws to pass through Super Meat Boy. And so what are we looking at now? I think we're still waiting for Kazuki's stream to come up. I think that should be happening momentarily, barring any technical issues. Hopefully there's no technical issues going on. Let me just peep the scene here. Let me check the Discord. I'm not seeing anything, so I'm guessing that Kazuki we'll be seeing Kazuki soon. And we have Jay popping up for Team Brownie here momentarily as well. Brendan actually going to be in third after being rather behind at the end of his leg, and we have Mister wrapping up as well. All right, we have Kazuki about halfway through Hospital. We finally caught up with Kazuki here. And so all of the second legs are done. Brendan really bringing it in for his team as we're transitioning into the third leg. Kazuki is likely to be in first right now, unless some like miracle has happened. I think we're seeing some technical issues going on. Maybe, not entirely sure what I'm looking at in the bottom left here. We'll see what happens. But I believe that's Crew Crux, or Crew Crux. I don't know how to pronounce it in French, but I just call him Crew. He'll be popping up for Team Fetus pretty soon. And we're seeing now Jay and Kazuki. Their streams are live. They're about halfway through Hospital. Actually, Kazuki just wrapping up Hospital right now, getting the Chad skip without an issue there. Holding on to a fairly substantial lead over Jay at the moment. Again, Team Meat is just kind of holding it down right now. They're kind of tearing through this game at the moment. All right, and good. So it looks like ICOD is popping up in your top right screen there. And I have some information from these guys as well. Yo, grats Shrooms, by the way, on your leg of the race.
Thank you.
No problem.
I felt pretty good about it.
Nice.
That Omega death really threw me for a loop.
I'm sure. So let's see. I have some write-ups here from the folks that you're seeing on screen right now. Let's see. So for Kazuki, he said, I started running the game after watching Rock Lee Smile run it. I've focused almost exclusively on 106% until this last week. He says, I've gotten 4 PBs in the last week. I'm feeling good about the relay. I think I have a decent shot at a PB for the sub 20. That is Kazuki in the top left there. It'd be great to see him pull off a sub 20 here. Maybe get a nice PB during this relay. That's always a nice thing to see whenever that happens. And who else do we have on screen? We have Crew. Crew wrote a lot. He said a lot of stuff. I'll try to summarize. Crew started by watching a lot of French runners, including Malay, Jolnu, and Iluvatar. He learned a lot of strats by watching them and asking them for tips in their streams. Crew is French himself again. He's done a lot of kind of miscellaneous categories over the years, including boss order, randomizer runs. Yes, Super Meat Boy does have a randomizer, but and a sprintless % run as well, to apparently just beat the game without using sprint at all. He prefers Hell. Hell is his favorite chapter. Feels as though he can do some of the fanciest strats that Hell has to offer. Crew Crux also says that he likes the end because he has to put all of the techniques together on that chapter, which he finds rather challenging. So that's Crew. That's Crew in a nutshell. And what do we have from Jay here? Jay says he got into speedrunning through Super Hot VR. He was looking for other games to run and saw Super Meat Boy was a popular option. He had SMB, but he had never actually finished it, so he thought it was a good excuse to finally do so. And he says hundreds of runs later, it's still his favorite game to run. We can call Rapture his favorite world. It's one of the more challenging. I definitely agree. He's been taking a break from Meat Boy, so it's been fun for him to get into it again while de-rusting. He still says that he's a bit rusty, and he is saying that it could turn into a disaster, but he's still very excited. And who else do we have? We also have iCod, who sent me some information as well. He says that he started running Super Meat Boy fairly recently, just this year in February of 2017, that he's been practicing since Christmas. iCod says that Magic Mister helped him get started with any %, and that his favorite level is maybe Omega, so likes Forest quite a bit. He says for the relay, he apologizes for his team because he knows he'll screw up because of pressure. I'm not too sure about that, iCod. We'll see how you do. He says that he's pulled off a lot of 2030s the last few days, but he'd be very happy if he gets that time for the relay. And he hopes that everybody has fun. I think it's been good so far. Despite the kind of the bumpy start, I think we're off and running now, and we have quite an interesting race going on. So we're still seeing Team Meat holding on to about a chapter lead right now. Kind of opening it up actually a little bit. Since we kind of last checked in with these racers. Jay for Team Brownie, he's in second at the moment. Really just trying to do what he can right now. Even though again Kazuki is doing quite nicely and kind of consistently with Team Meat's profile so far, just really holding on to the lead that they've established kind of early on with Back's leg of the relay. And let's see, we have Crew Crux and Jay just a couple levels apart from each other. Or rather, sorry, Crew Crux and iCod. Jay is actually a little bit ahead of both of them. So Jay is holding on to a nice second place position right now. It seems like it's really going to be a race for second at the moment. That's kind of where the runners are closest, as we're seeing Kazuki doing a nice auto jump strat there on 411, going into Big Brother. Hell is known for having some really risky strats with these lasers. So we're probably going to see some safety strats here for the sake of maybe not necessarily going for a PB, but maybe just going for a time that is good for the team, kind of the greater good, right? And We're seeing him go for 414 right now. That's a level that has a fair amount of optimization to it. He went for kind of a safer strat there. But again, I think that's kind of the mentality right now. It's really just kind of a no frills approach, just going for the strats that work and avoiding the strats that are risky. As we're seeing Jay go into hell right now. Basically entering the chapter as Kazuki is about to piece out of hell. Crew and iCod neck and neck right now on mono. Crew's not going for a mono skip. iCod unfortunately messes it up. That's going to cost him about 10 seconds. And Crew, again, opting for the safer strat, ends up saving time. And he's going to pull a little bit ahead of iCod here. And iCod really struggling to get this mono skip. Let's see if he tries it again or if he just decides to back out. Crew getting a really nice 318 skip there with that lock skip, which is pretty cool. Let's see what iCod does in response. Does iCod go for 318? Top right. He does go for it, and he does get it. Again, saving that 6 seconds. That's a huge time save for runners if they can get it. And Crew is wrapping up Factory, doing Brownie Skip quite nicely, without a hitch. And so Team Fetus actually holding on to a slight lead for for third place right now. And Team Bandage bringing up the rear right now, but that could change, of course. It is still very close in third place right now, and we're seeing Team Brownie kind of holding on to second place right now as well, as Kazuki is the first to go into Rapture, and holding on to about a half chapter lead at the moment. Let's see how Kazuki does on 5-1. This level has this level's all about the saw cycles, so one wrong move can be quite costly if you're not paying very close attention to where those saws are in space. Oh, very nearly misses the saw there. That could have really cost him, but he went for it and it paid off. Again, we're kind of circling back around to the repulsor levels here. Where the closer the Meat Boy gets to the center of the repulsors, the farther he's ultimately kind of jettisoned away from them. 5-4 been posing a big problem to a lot of the runners thus far. Kazuki actually gets a first try, which is kind of a big deal because that is not an easy level to pull off, and he just kind of sailed over those repulsors without an issue. 5-5 and 5-6, kind of a nice breather before we get into 5-7, which again has another really long death coming up on this next level here, going on in the top left corner. These two saws that you see at the bottom on Kazuki's screen, if the cycle is off and if the runner is not paying attention to those cycles, it could cost about 12 to 13 seconds worth of damage. So the need to be very mindful of those cycles is definitely present for that level. Again, we're seeing Kazuki go for the 5-8 route, so we're seeing that auto scroller taking a nice trip down, maybe a nice breather. There's not much going on here before the strats really pick up, starting with the abomination levels coming up here. We're seeing these meat mutants. With their kind of unpredictable movement. Sometimes it's hard to say whether they will charge at Meat Boy or whether they'll just kind of hang tight. But Kazuki just kind of crushed that stage. He's been kind of cruising through Rapture at the moment without too many hiccups. Again, just kind of opting for some easier cycles just for the sake of maintaining his substantial lead that he has at the moment. And let's see. So iCod still bringing up the rear right now. Jay is going to be the second person in the Rapture, and these positions really have not moved for quite some time. So we have iCod and Crew maybe within like 10 seconds or so of each other, as Crew is the third into Little Horn. Kazuki, how does he do on the Lamb? Jumping on the sides of these platforms. One of the hardest levels in Rapture. Is he going to make it up to the top? He does. Anything can go wrong on that level. It is definitely an unforgiving stage, but he made it through. There are a couple of major skips coming up for Kazuki as well that can again really throw off the runner because they're highly precise. They involve a lot of very tight jumps, and we saw him kind of struggling a little bit there on 514, but he does make it through. Playing nice and steady right now. And we have another major skip coming up here on 516. Can he get through the repulsors without an issue? He does. Really just putting on a really nice performance right now. But Jay is within a few levels right now. Definitely within striking distance, especially if Larry turns out to be subpar for Kazuki. It's definitely within the realm of possibilities. Yeah. Let's see. Okay, so Kazuki does not get the 3-cycle. I don't think that we've seen a 3-cycle quite yet, to my knowledge. The question really is whether, is the Larry going to be rough enough for Kazuki so that Jay can actually make some progress here. He's about 9 levels away from Larry at the moment, so he still has a lot of work to do. And Larry really has to stick around for a while. Kazuki's really getting stuck with a tough Larry right now. This is brutal. This is just a waiting game, and it's an inevitable part of the speed run. That was actually only the second head to jump, so Kazuki's really been stuck with some really bad Larry RNG here. My heart goes out to Kazuki. This is really bad news for him, and his team in general. This is actually kind of remarkable. This Larry is so bad. This Larry is like super bad.
This Larry hates meat.
This is like probably one of the worst Larrys I've ever seen. Jay is like actually catching up pretty substantially right now. I think the last time I commented he was like 9 levels away, and now he's just I think about 4 levels away from entering Larry. Kazuki finally gets the 3rd head to jump. That was like that was maybe one of the worst Larrys I've ever seen.
Yeah.
That was like really bad. But honestly, the precedent that was set from the first 2 legs, he can kind of absorb that without really much of an issue. So he's still holding on to a bit of a lead, although it's definitely not as big of a lead as it had been, just because of that luck factor. The dice roll did not work out for Team Meat there whatsoever. I've seen a lot of bad Larrys, but that was like really like truly one of the worst Larrys I've seen. So let's see how the mental game changes for Kazuki. Is that going to throw Kazuki off? Because he knows that he's been playing really well, maybe on sub 20 pace, and that dream is almost certainly dead at this point because of that Larry. So let's see how the meta factors in here. Is he going to take some long deaths, or is he just going to power through these last couple of levels and accept the fact that this is not even close to a PB because of that Larry alone? Let's see how Jay does on Larry here.
Kazuki had a fairly short death on 6-1.
Jay gets a 3-cycle!
Really?
Jay gets a 3-cycle. I swear to God. Jay just got a 3-cycle.
Larry knows. So Larry likes
knows.
Brownie. Okay.
Dude, Larry giveth and Larry taketh away, man. It's true. Unbelievable. I cannot believe that just happened. That is sick. That is actually sick. So Kazuki, once holding on to a minute's long lead, we're really just looking at maybe like a minute and a half difference between first and second place right now. This has really tightened up way more than I think we could have anticipated at the end of this leg. This is really impressive. ICOD and Crew still really close to each other. They've been really within striking distance of each other for a good chunk of the run at this point, and that's just kind of held true for basically the entire run for the two of them, ever since Hell anyways. ICOD and Crew, I think they both do races quite a bit with each other, and so definitely have that French connection going on there. I think they just want to be close to each other in the relay because they're buddies or something. I don't know. Anyways, Kazuki going into Fetus. Will he make it to the button okay, or will the lead continue to narrow for Team Brownie to maybe take first for the first time, I think maybe in the entire relay at this point. Team Meat has
Icod and Crux finishing at the same time, Larry.
Yeah. That sync though.
Yeah, that sync.
That sync. That sync is nuts. Jay gets keyless. Icod takes a death on 6-1. That's going to give Crew a chance. Pull ahead here. And Kazuki just sitting nice and easy on the button, waiting for the escape sequence here. Jay and Kazuki technically on the first, or technically on the same stage for the first time in a very long time. For quite some time, and it looks like Kazuki had a bit of an issue there on escape, but I think he's looking like he's about to make it through. And so that's going to be leg 3 for Team Meat. Still in first, but wow, did it tighten up a little bit. It's like less than a minute difference between the two teams kind of vying for first at the moment. Team Meat and Team Brownie.
I didn't think I finished a minute after Shadax.
Yeah, probably less, I think.
Yeah.
You must have caught up.
I was pretty close, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a bit hard to tell just because the in a couple of instances, like it's kind of transitioned over during like hospital. But in any case, who do we have up next?
We have Diamond Miner after Kazuki,
Mm-hmm.
and after Jay, we will have Plumber, who is one of the newest runner in this relay, and he's made some crazy improvement lately. Before the relay, his PB was around 26 minutes, or even higher than that. And
He made the cutoff just barely, I think.
yeah, he got, I think 20. What's his PB? I'm gonna check. A 23:20.
That's with the rocket juggle.
Which is pretty crazy. And also, I don't know if you mentioned Wormham, that Kazuki also made some crazy improvements. Basically, everyone made crazy improvements for this relay, and it's just truly amazing. It's
amazing to see. All right, as we're setting up for the fourth leg here, we're still seeing quite a close race between Crew and Icod. And so what are we looking at here? What are we seeing?
So we're gonna see fairly different strat this time. Maybe more safer strats than what you used to see so far. So to give you an idea, Diamond Miner's PB is about 22 minutes, and Plumber has a 23:20.
Mm-hmm.
So we're definitely gonna see different strats, and eventually different routes as well. So
definitely. I think this leg's gonna really determine kind of the setup for the last leg, in the sense that like Mate is going to be on Team Brownie, and he's definitely going to pull Team Brownie within the potential for first place, I would say. If this kind of lead persists with Team Meat at the moment. So Diamond Miner, I think, is in a position where he probably has to open it up a little bit more just for safety. Because if it's between me and Matt, I'm probably times out of 10. To be
It will
perfectly
be
honest.
it will be fine. See how I carefully decided to put all the strongest runner at the end. I want to see
Yeah.
some risky strats. I want to see some.
I'm not going for
decisions.
Hex, dude. I'm sorry.
It's fine.
I'm not gonna risk it. All right, so everybody's finished up the third leg at this point.
Yep.
And well, let's take a look at some bios because we have some info on these folks. And so let's start with Diamond Miner. Diamond Miner says, I PB'd yesterday by a minute and a half.
Nice.
I PB'd yesterday by a minute and a half. He says Factory is his weakest chapter. Feels like Hell and Rapture are actually his strong points. That is not a common feeling.
Yeah, I was really surprised to see that.
Among a lot of people who run this game. So it's nice to see that Diamond Miner finds Hell and Rapture to be a good challenge, but also some of his strongest moments. He's ready to have some fun, he says. And who else do we have? We have Weather Guy. Weather Guy said he's been running for about 3 months. So he's another. We're seeing a lot of like newer faces during this leg. We're seeing the plumber himself, and also Weather Guy, who are very, very new to the scene. Weather Guy's been at it for about 3 months. He just played through the game casually once and thought it would be fun to try to speedrun. It's his first speedrun game, and he says that he was inspired by watching events on Twitch like GDQ. He's very excited about the relay today, but he hopes he. This has been a common thread. He hopes he doesn't embarrass himself. I think everybody's been doing quite well so far. So
Yeah.
no worries there. No worries there. And let's see what the plumber says. He says, "Oh, well, I guess I'm one of the newest runners. He's been doing Meat Boy for a little over a month now. He said his last week's PB went down real fast, and even though he knows the relay is for fun, he's pretty nervous. His favorite level is in Rapture. It's Rapture 6. It says that Hospital 3, Factory 17, and Hell 10 are the worst. Hell 10 was that one I was talking about at the top of the relay. It's just a brutal level, so I can definitely relate to that feeling." He says Rapture, again, with the newer runners, Rapture overall is his favorite world. Although I guess is Diamond Miner new at this point? I don't know. He says that he averages about 30 deaths per run, which is very nice for somebody who's only been playing the game for about a month.
Yeah.
And we have Ezek as well.